Last fall, a man died in a car accident. On his computer, his brother found 8 hours of Skyrim footage nobody knew he'd been recording. A friend of his sent it to me and paid me $400 to find what he hid in it. I'm telling you that upfront because I want you to watch me get it wrong. For 3 weeks, I was certain there was a message in this footage. I found it too. I found all of it, and I was wrong about every single piece. But the way I was wrong is one of the most unsettling things I've ever put on my channel. There was something in this footage, just not the thing I was expecting. So, full honesty, my channel isn't monetized yet, and teaching doesn't exactly make a man rich. So when a stranger messaged me on Steam, I was, let's just say, intrigued. The message, word for word, was, "Hey bro, just found your channel, your content is so good, but I know everything you make is fake." What the fuck? But I've got something that's real as it gets. It's from a close friend of mine. He passed away last fall in car accident. His brother found Skyrim footage on his computer and sent it to me. I've watched it and I'm positive he hid something in it. I just can't tell what. I think you can. It means a lot to me, so please don't reveal his real name or mine and be respectful to him. If you crack it, make a video. I don't care. I'll pay you $400 upfront. $400 to do one thing I love most? Sign me up. Yeah, I accepted it. Sue me. Solving mysteries and making content is the whole reason I'm here. Somebody offering to pay me for it is not something I will refuse. So, the footage. It opens about as normal as it gets. Except it's not a playthrough. It's actually modded Skyrim. Now, I've never actually been a mod guy. I don't hate them, but I don't like them. I'd rather play the game the way it was meant to be played. However, if I'm going to do this properly, step 1 is knowing exactly what I'm looking at. So before anything else, I figured out the mod. It's a famous one. Clockwork. Never played it myself, but the reputation precedes it. It's an escape room style quest mod. It's about a castle stuck high up in the Velothi mountains. Honestly, I was expecting something more horror, more obviously sinister given what I've been sent. But maybe the unsettling part was deeper in, so I wasn't judgmental at first. I wasn't about to investigate a mod I'd never touched, so I downloaded Clockwork and played the entire thing, start to finish. Genuinely good mod, clever, a little eerie, worth your time. But that's not why I played it. I played it so that when I sat down with the dead man's 8 hours, I'd know instantly when something was off. You can't spot an anomaly in a place you've never been. Let's be honest, which is obvious, you cannot spot an anomaly in a place you've never been to. Here's how I work these, in case you are new here. First pass, I watch the whole thing through and skim. I don't do deep analysis at first. I just take a notepad and a pen, and every time something catches my eye, I write it down. One line without any detail, just timestamps and the anomaly. Then, later, I go back through the list one item at a time and actually dig. It also means I can rewatch specific stretches, hunting for more once I know roughly where the strange anomalies happen. So in the first pass, here's what I caught. The first thing, and this one bothered me before I could even say why. The ambient sound. The background audio isn't Skyrim's, it's not Clockwork's either. I just spent hours inside that mod. I knew this wasn't it. Noted. Second thing, Daniel, that's what I'll call him since I'm not allowed his real name. Daniel is not a gamer. I don't mean he's bad, I mean he's new and bad. He's not somebody with thousands of hours in Skyrim or anything else. He fumbles these puzzles that a real player would actually walk through easily. His reaction time is slow. He gets tangled up on the buttons. I've been playing since I was 6, and lately I've been teaching my girlfriend how to play. Sitting next to someone discovering games for the first time, I know exactly what that looks like. And it looks like Daniel. Whoever recorded this was not a man who grew up with a controller or a keyboard in his hand. Third, the mod itself is wrong. It is Clockwork, but it isn't quiet. Characters standing in positions they've got no business standing in. The ambient sound I already mentioned. Glitches that show up in specific spots in the story, not actually random ones. And some of the dialogue are just strange, off. A couple of lines genuinely made me laugh, which I'm pretty sure this mod is not going for. And that's it. That's everything I got on the first pass. Which, and I want to be honest about this, is something that actually got through me. I was unsettled and a bit stressed because it's not enough. On a normal case, even a slow, quiet one with none of the horror, I come away from the first pass with more than this. A short list like this from 8 hours of footage. Somebody supposedly buried a secret inside? Something is wrong. Not wrong in the footage, wrong in me. I missed something I had to have. That was my first real thought, sitting there looking at a notepad that was too empty. Something's off here. And it shouldn't be. $400 and 8 hours of footage. That's what I faced late at night. Headphones on, feeling a chill run down my arms. My list of findings was too short. Almost too tidy and empty. Like the important details were hiding in plain sight. Something felt off. Something I couldn't quite name. I had that familiar investigative itch. If I went back, slowed down, and really looked, I felt sure I'd find whatever had been trying to get my attention, so I went back in. The second pass is different from the first. At first, I skim and notice whatever stands out. On the second pass, I slow down, sometimes watching at a quarter speed or even frame by frame. This time, I'm not waiting for things to jump at me. I'm looking for them. I started with sound because it was the only part that felt strange in a way I couldn't quite explain. The audio was the first thing that bothered me and also the part I understood the least. If I could figure out what the sound meant, maybe I understand what I was really hearing. First, I separated the audio from the footage. Just the sound, no video, headphones on, lights off. That's the only way to really listen instead of watching. About 20 minutes in, under the background hum, I heard a second layer. It was quiet, almost hidden. You'd never notice it with the video playing. It's breathing. Someone is breathing slow and steady throughout the recording. It's a soft, rhythmic sound beneath everything else. The breathe isn't shaky or nervous, it's steady and almost too calm. Just loud enough to mix with the hum in my headphones. It never changes pace. If anything, it feels calm and watchful, as steady as a metronome. But before you think it's creepy, it's really not. Streamers do it, and half the ASMR here is just someone breathing into a fancy mic. So I told myself, that's Daniel, just a guy playing, breathing near his headset, nothing strange about it. But Daniel talks. Not a lot, but he does. Little mutters when he's stuck, or a word to the chat. And every time he speaks, the breathing keeps going at the same pace. It doesn't pause or change like you'd expect when someone starts talking. Two different sets of lungs. One is playing the game, one just there, listening. I wrote that down, and I want to be honest about what I wrote, because when I checked my note back later, it was almost funny how careful I was. I wrote second breathing, probably roommate, TV, nothing, check. Don't assume. That was me sticking to the basics. That's rule 1 at work. A man breathing in a room is the most ordinary explanation, and the ordinary explanation is usually the right one. I held that line for about another day. Then I turned my attention back to Daniel, because the more I watched, the more something about him felt off. I told you he's new to games, and he is, but it was the way he was new that started to bother me. When you watch a real beginner play Skyrim, they're curious. They wander around, they get distracted by a random NPC, fall off a cliff trying to reach something shiny, or talk to the same guy 3 times because they don't remember what he said. Beginners are messy and they're delighted. That's the whole charm of watching someone discover a game. Daniel isn't having fun. It's almost like he's obligated to play. He's working. He doesn't wander or explore. He moves through clockwork like someone doing a job he doesn't enjoy, solving each puzzle with slow determination. As soon as one is finished, he's already focused on the next. There's no joy in it. He plays in a strange way, almost like he knows what to do and he just wants to do that. Nothing more. Just finish the game. That's it. And he is quiet. I keep noticing that. 8 hours and he barely says a word. When he does, it's short and flat, just to himself, never to an audience. There's no hey guys or commentary, no sign he knows anyone's watching. That's exactly when I realized the obvious thing I missed for 2 straight days. Why is this recorded? Think about it. Here's a man who isn't a gamer, clearly isn't enjoying himself, and never talks to a camera or chat. Yet he records 8 hours of himself playing through a mod he doesn't seem to like. Most people record gameplay to share it, save it, or show someone. Daniel seems like he doesn't do any of that. Or, hear me out, this is where it gets interesting. Maybe, just maybe, the recording was the real reason and the game was just an excuse. I had to sit with that for a while. Then I went back looking for what it was. Next on my list were the glitches, and that's when I started losing sleep. On the first pass, I blamed them on mod instability. Clockwork is a big mod. Such a big mod usually gets visual hiccups. Sometimes textures flicker, objects stutter, they use down the timestamps. Writing down the timestamp, location, and what glitched. The interesting thing was that they weren't happening where you'd expect. Instability usually happens on load, during cell transition, or when the game struggles with assets. These glitches didn't fit that pattern. These happened in dialogue, like in specific lines. Every time a certain kind of line appeared, the screen would freeze for half a second or less, almost like the footage skipped. It was always the same type of line. When an NPC said something that felt a bit too personal, a little bit too close to real life. There's a moment about 3 hours in where Daniel talks to a character in the castle, and the character says something like, and I'm paraphrasing because the subtitle is only up for a frame, "You've come a long way to be somewhere you cannot leave." That's standard cryptic mod dialogue, except it's not a Clockwork line. I played the whole mod and checked the mod's dialogues afterwards to be sure it's not in there. Someone added that in. And the glitches happen right when these inserted lines appear, as if the footage is flinching. It almost feels like something in the video doesn't want me to read those subtitles, and the glitch is the spot where something real was added to the game. I started pausing every glitch and stepping through it one frame at a time. Most of them, nothing. Just glitch. But on 3 of them, 3 out of maybe 40, there's a single frame that isn't Skyrim at all. At first, it's too dark to see anything. It just looks black. But I pulled the frames, raised the brightness, and adjusted the exposure the way you do when you're sure something is hidden in the dark image. You see, Daniel isn't the brightest guy when it comes to the computer stuff. I'm guessing even maybe a friend installed the game and the entire mod for him. But why am I guessing that? Well, a normal guy would use a recording software for gameplay. Daniel used a separate camera. He carefully placed it so it captures the entire frame of his monitor, and just that. It's impressive and neat, but still, why not use a recording software? Anyways, I'm drifting off. In 3 specific frames, the monitor is pitch black, and you can, if you adjust it carefully like I did, see someone. Not Daniel. Daniel's hands are on the keyboard in the room. You can actually kinda see them. This is someone else, standing back behind him, watching the screen over his shoulder. That is the second set of lungs. Now, I need you to really pay attention. Watch what I'm doing, because this part is actually about you. Yes, you, wherever you are listening to this. Have you ever been so sure you knew what was happening, putting the pieces together, certain your theory was right? This is where both of us are involved. The whole story depends on what you see and what you believe. At this point, I had a story, and it was a good one. A man who isn't a gamer recorded without joy, skimming through a mod someone tempered with, dialogue added and hints are being trapped. A second person breathing in the dark behind him, showing up for only 3 frames. You can feel where that's going. I could feel it too. It was heading somewhere with a body in it. And the guy who hired me, let's keep calling him the client, was messaging me the whole time. Every time I sent him an update, he got excited. I knew it. I knew there was something. Keep going, keep digging. He'd lost his friend in the fall. He needed there to be something. Every bit of certainty I gave him, he sent back even stronger. I want to point out what was happening to me, because I didn't notice it at the time. The more he needed it to be real, the more I was finding. That's backwards. The footage doesn't care how much a grieving man wants an answer. If my findings are following his hope instead of the evidence, then I'm looking in the wrong place. I knew that. My whole reputation depends on knowing that. But I kept going anyway because the story was too damn good and the feeling was too strong. That little jolly in your chest when something fits. I felt it. It feels like the truth. But then I remembered what saved me before. I tried to break the story. I took the strongest piece, the person in the frame. And instead of asking, what does this prove? I asked, how could this be boring? How could this be the most ordinary thing possible? And it took me about 10 minutes to wreck 3 weeks of work. The room in the frames, the person standing behind Daniel, I had turned them into a watcher, a presence, something unsettling, breathing in the dark. Here is what they actually are, or at least what I actually think they are. I went back to the breathing, the second set of lungs, the steady, patient breath that never changed when Daniel spoke. I had thought its steadiness was eerie, too calm and watchful. But as I listened again, something changed. What first seemed unsettling started to sound more intentional. On my second observation, it was not as watchful and it was more guiding. Listen, if you stop looking for a ghost and start listening for a person, the breathing has a rhythm to it. And the rhythm lines up with Daniel's hands. He gets stuck and his breathing holds. He moves, it eases. Right before he solves something, there's the smallest intake, the sound a person makes when they're about to say, there, that one. And then don't, because they're letting you get it yourself. So basically, what it was someone teaching him. The person in the frame isn't just standing behind him to watch, they're standing behind him the way I stand behind my girlfriend when she's learning a game, and I don't want to take the controller from her. Close enough to help, but still letting her play. And that changed everything. Daniel isn't new to the game because he's a stranger to this footage. He's new because someone who loved games was teaching him. The serious determination I thought was joyless isn't joyless at all. It's focused. It's someone trying hard at something difficult in front of someone whose opinion matters, wanting to do it right. The inserted dialogue, you've come a long way to be somewhere you can't leave. I had read it as a threat, but look at it again. It's a line one friend writes into a mod for another. A little inside joke. A bit too sincere. Pretty much said indirectly, because saying it directly feels awkward. It's not threatening, it's affectionate. It's the voice of the person doing the breathing. The footage wasn't just a recording, it was two friends. One knew games inside out and was teaching the other who didn't through a mod the first one loved enough to tinker with. He added little lines, little jokes, little reminders like, I'm here, you've got this, hidden in the walls of a castle in the Velothi Mountains. And one of them is dead now. The car accident last fall, the one who knew games, the one breathing in the dark, teaching the whole 8 hours. The footage isn't a message concealed in a playthrough, it's the last time they hung out. Which brings me to the man who hired me, and the part that I almost didn't include, because it's the part that made me sit on this video for weeks before I cut it. He never told me his name. He used a fake name on Steam, paid in a way I couldn't trace, and asked me to protect his identity and his friend's identity. I put that down to grief, the way you do with a lot of things, and let it go. But go back to the message that started all this. His brother found the footage and sent it to me. The brother sent it to him, a close friend, close enough that the brother of the dead man reached out to him specifically. And then his close friend, instead of just watching 8 hours of his dead friends teaching someone to play a game, instead of just recognizing it, since he was close and would know that voice and that breathing, send it to a complete stranger online and paid him $400 to find a hidden message. You don't do that if you already know what it is. You do that if you're the person being taught. I think the man who hired me is Daniel. I think he's the one in the footage, hands on the keyboard, learning a game from a friend who had 6 months left and maybe didn't know it. Or maybe did when his friend died, I think he couldn't bear for those 8 hours to just be 8 hours. A normal afternoon. A guy teaching another guy a video game, nothing hidden in it at all. He needed it to be a message. He needed his friend to have known, to have left something, to have reached forward through a modded castle to say goodbye on purpose. That's why he sent it to me, not to find what his friend hid, but to have me create something his friend never hid, to pay a stranger to turn an ordinary goodbye into a secret one, because a secret would mean he'd been chosen, spoken to, left something on purpose, instead of just being the guy holding the controller on the last normal day. In a way, he hired a detective, he hired someone to make a message, and he picked me because making messages is what I'm good at, and what I told myself I'd stop doing. I could give him what he paid for. I really could. I had the whole story ready. The watcher, the breathing, the trapped soul dialogue, the figure in the dark. I could make that video. It would be the best thing on this channel. People would go wild, and the man who hired me would finally have what he wants. Proof his friend left him something on purpose. Or I can tell him the truth. There is no hidden message. His friend didn't leave a coded goodbye. What's really in this footage is both less and more than he hoped. Just the two of them in one ordinary afternoon. A friend patiently teaching, breathing behind his shoulder and quietly encouraging him. There, you've got it. That one. That's the real message. Even if that was never said out loud. The truth is the afternoon he already had. And I keep coming back to the same point. The truth is better. And I don't think he can see that yet. Just like I couldn't for 3 weeks. He's so focused on his friend having left a message on purpose that he's missing what's really there. 8 hours of being cared for on a normal day. With no plan, no ceremony, no performing a secret goodbye. Just a friend who liked him enough to spend an afternoon teaching him a game. You can't make that happen on purpose. That's the thing. You can plan a goodbye. An ordinary afternoon is something you only get by chance and only realize you had after it's gone. His friend, he didn't leave him a message. His friend left him an afternoon. I think that's what I was searching for. That's what I missed the first time. The reason my notepad stayed so empty. There was no code to fill the pages. Just 2 people and one already gone. The footage wasn't hiding anything. It was holding something. That's different. That's the point. And now, here's you, because I did something to you along the way and I owe you the honest version. I walked you through the breathing, the glitches, the room and the figure in the dark, and I let you feel it start to turn into something with a body in it. You felt that click too, don't pretend you didn't. Somewhere around the 3rd frame you had a theory, and it involved the corpse. That's not a flaw, that's just human nature. We look for patterns. You can show us that 3 frames and a dead man, and we'll turn an ordinary afternoon into a horror story every single time. I could have left you there. That's the usual move. Leave it ambiguous. Maybe there was something, maybe not. Then cut to credits and let the comments argue. The mystery is good for the channel, but I'm not going to do that. There was no message. I'm not being coy. I'm sure I tried to break the story the way I always do, trying to keep the beautiful haunting version alive, but it fell apart because there was nothing holding it up except my own hopes and a grieving man's need for meaning. What's real is the smaller thing. 2 friends one afternoon, a castle in the mountains, a patient breathe behind a man's shoulder, teaching him to play just months or weeks or days before a road took him. That happened. I didn't create that. That's just what's there once you stop needing it to be a secret and let it be a memory. I think we do this with the people we've lost all the time, and we can't stand the idea that they were just there, ordinary and present. They're not leaving us clues. They're just being with us without hidden meanings. So we turn their last days into puzzles for us and replay ordinary afternoons looking for proof they meant to say goodbye. We'd rather have a hidden message than a quiet, normal afternoon together, because a message means we mattered enough to be chosen for one last secret. But the afternoon already meant that. Whether we realize it or not, We just want proof that what we shared was enough. I think almost everyone does this in different ways, not just with people we lose, but with pets, places, or anything we loved enough to want a sign from. Maybe you've done it too, replaying old texts or remembering a lunch or a comment, searching for a sign that there was something more meant just for you. All want the message, but sometimes the message is just the ordinary afternoon, and the hard part is realizing that's more than enough. If you've lost someone and spent time searching their last weeks for what they were really saying, the sign, the message, the meaning they left just for you, I gently say what I'm about to say to the man who hired me. You're looking for a code in something that was only ever holding a memory. Stop trying to decode them. Let them have been a person who was simply in the most ordinary way there with you. That's not less than a message. That's the most anyone gets, and it's enough. It's always enough. I haven't replied to him yet. The man I think you might be, your friend didn't hide anything from you. He just spent an afternoon with you. Let that be enough.